So this is the first of our quick courses about how to use and take advantage of the Iridium 9555. That's this phone here that I have. This is a satellite phone. You'll see that it looks very similar to a cellular phone, and it's pretty easy to use. We're going to go through some of the basics, and then later there'll be some other courses about how to actually make calls, how to send messages, and receive calls and messages. But first we're just going to look at the basics. So we're going to talk a little bit about the phone, how to turn it on and off, how to keep it charged up, and then also we'll look at some of the other accessories that usually come with the phone. So the first most important thing that we all want to know about is how to turn the phone on and off. So for this particular model, the power button is right on the top. So you'll see it right there. So really just very easy to turn it on and off. You just want to push that button down 2 to 3 seconds. You'll see an image come on the screen, and then you'll get some text eventually. Yeah, so you see here where it says searching for a network. We'll talk about that later in a future course when we look at how to actually make a call. Right now the most important thing that you want to look at is that you'll see in the upper right hand corner there's a picture of a battery. That's your battery strength indicator. So that goes with the next thing we want to talk about is how do we keep the phone well charged up. On the side of the phone is a little panel here. You pull that back, little protective panel, and you'll see that there are two things inside there. One is a USB connection. We'll talk about that later because we can use that to turn the phone into a modem. We don't use that often, but that is a possibility for us. The other thing is that's your charging jack right there, this particular hole. So we want to keep the phone well charged up to be able to use it. So the first of our accessories that we want to talk about is this wall plug. So this just plugs into the phone, just right like that. You just make sure it's well plugged in, and then you just plug this into your wall outlet. While it's charging up, the battery picture there will be blinking, and when it's fully charged, it'll be solid like the one here on our phone. You notice that most of the chargers that come with these are pretty standard. This is like a standard US type jack, but originally they came with a set of different kind of plugs, and so if you have a different kind of plug in your country, you can usually you can get a kit that will help you to adjust that. So this one is for like a standard US connection, but if your country has a different one, we usually have a bunch of these floating around, and you can request that way you can charge it in the wall, and it just goes back together like that. So that's if you're charging it at your office or your home, but of course, because we know that the satellite phones are useful when we're out on the road, we also want to make sure that we can charge them up while we're in a vehicle or traveling. So all the phones come with this kind of jack as well. This can plug into your what we used to call the cigarette lighter in the car, but now the power jack in the vehicle. So this plugs in while the vehicle's on, and this just plugs into the same exact place there. Okay, so that way you can make sure it's always charged up, whether you're on the road or in the home or in the office. Likewise, to make sure that we turn off our phone when we're not using it or when we're not expecting any calls, it's that same button again, and we just push it a couple more seconds, and you'll see that it'll finally kick off. Okay, now our phone's off and not using up the battery. So that's your on and off button to power it on and off. And here we talked about the charger on the side. We want to talk a little bit about some of the other accessories that come with the phone because they're all so useful. Just like most other phones, this phone comes with a headphone jack. It can plug in on the other side, on the smaller hole there. Just plugs in like that, and this can be used as a headphone, especially when you're in like a loud noise environment. Like here we have some street noise from the cars on the street, so this could be potentially useful, but that's just if you need it. The other thing that's really useful for us on the phone is the auxiliary antenna, because we know it's not safe to use the phone outside if there's rain or lightning or other situations like that. So we have an auxiliary antenna which will let us use it in a vehicle or inside of a house. To do that, what you have to do is you have to take out this small plug on the back, a black plug, which is somewhat hard to get out. So you see, you take out this little black plug here out of this hole there in the back, and then this additional piece of equipment that came with the phone just goes right into that same hole there. You see, it just goes right in there in the back, and then the rest of it just plugs onto the phone. Okay. So you get all of that all plugged together. Now you've got this additional jack here, which can plug into this other piece of equipment, which is your auxiliary antenna. So you just screw this on here. Now then this other part, you'll see there's about a 6-meter cord or so, and this other part is magnetized. So with this, you can throw this under the roof of the car and shut the door, and you'll be inside the car safe, be able to make a call. You could also extend this outside. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we're actually looking at how to make the call. And take this back off, you do the same thing. Just pop that back out. There's also a case. That's your decision if you want to use that or not. It's a little bit harder to use the buttons and things like that, make the connections, but it also has a belt loop thing there. So if you're really carrying it around a lot, you might want that. Also, all the phones come with some kind of instruction manuals, which cover a lot of the same type of topics that we're talking about right now. It's kind of like your car manual. It has a lot more information in there if you want to look at all the details. They're also nice because they usually come in different languages. So here you see we have a quick guide in English and in Spanish. Okay. We also want to talk about a little bit about how to access your battery and your SIM card in case you need it, and some other things about the phone. But first, we'll also talk about the antenna, just to make sure you notice that this antenna is extendable like that. So this is like when you're just in the storage position. But when you're actually going to use it, you're going to extend it like that, and it can be adjusted to the left or the right depending on when you're left-handed. We'll cover that more when we talk about how to actually make a call. Just so you know too, the battery is this piece of plastic on the back here, and it's accessible by lifting up this small little spring-loaded thing and then getting your fingernail under there. You can open that. So this is actually the battery. You won't do much with that unless you're going to replace it. And the SIM card is actually right here. That's the SIM card. So the SIM card, if you needed to, you could take it out. Sometimes when the phones are new, this is where you'll put the SIM card in there. There's more details about that in case you need it. But sometimes you'll get a message on the phone saying SIM card's loose or it doesn't have a SIM card. That just might mean you need to check that connection there. So there, you're all good to go there. Just put your battery back, clicks in place, and you're all ready to go again. And turn it on and test it out. So that covers the basics of the phone, how to power it on and off, how to keep it charged with the 2 different types of chargers, and then some of the other accessories that you can use when you're out and about. We'll cover how to make calls and send messages and receive calls and messages on some of our other courses. Thanks so much.